Well, welcome to my studio and welcome to my second sketchbook tour. So my last sketchbook tour I think I posted back in October of last year. Started this new sketchbook in November and I finished it 2 days ago, I think, and it's now February 27th, 2024. So I'm going to be showing you my precious baby here. So this sketchbook has been with me for 3 months and I finished it. It's very full, which is very exciting. I have got a little bit of vocal fry. I'm getting over the flu or a cold or something or other, so I'm sorry my voice is a bit husky. Without further ado, I know you guys want to get into the sketchbook tour, so let's get straight into it, shall we? Here we go. So I started it on the 9th of November 2023 and finished it on the 25th of February 2024. I always skip the first page because it's too overwhelming. I swatched my Mia Gouache. I got it around this time. These paints aren't the greatest quality, so I don't actually use them that much anymore, but they are what got me back into my painting. So without having bought these, I probably wouldn't be painting at the moment. I have a drawing of Daniel Radcliffe here. I was starting to come into my element with my portrait drawing, but I actually haven't done any for months. I should probably pick that back up again. The first part of this sketchbook is mainly portrait drawings, and then it transitions into pretty much only landscape painting. This is a drawing of Rosario Dawson. It was a request from my sister. I like to put out requests to friends and family as to who they'd like me to draw because it helps me get out of the, select few people that I like to draw, which is usually Tom Hiddleston, Florence Pugh, Michael Fassbender, and that's about it. Oh, and Natalie Portman. Those are the 4 people I love to draw, so I asked some people for recommendations so that I actually branched out. This is a drawing of Hugh Jackman. The likeness isn't great, but I was still really happy with how I started to communicate the form and the sketchy quality of the clothes. This is a master study of Sun on Tinker's Hill by Warwick Fuller. I did this in November. This was my first painting with the Mia Gouache and my first landscape painting in a little while. This is a drawing of Sophia Bush, who I didn't know who that was, which is why I labelled it. It was a request from one of my sisters. You can see really faintly here, I drew a little arrow just to help me remember where the light was coming from. I have an average likeness for Harrison Ford here, but I actually really liked how I rendered the wrinkles in the forehead and the light. So it's not a complete failure, that one, but it doesn't look a whole lot like him. This is a sketch of an Australian AFL football player called Dusty Martin. Again, don't know who he is. I don't really follow the football, so I had to label this one so I didn't forget. That was a request from my dad. Ian Somerhalder, I think that was a request from one of my friends. And Maggie Gyllenhaal, which was a request from my sister. These are some oil pastel swatches, just some really cheap ones, but I wanted to have a go at, some oil pastel. I ended up getting a much bigger set, which you'll actually see me use in my vlog that'll be up next week. This is a master study of a sketch from Stephen Borman. The original drawing that I copied it from actually wasn't finished, but I really liked the look of it, so I wanted to try and capture that. And this is a drawing of Sheriff Romero from Bates Motel, which is probably my favourite show of all time. These are 2 master studies from the same artist that the last landscape master study was from. This is Cape Tree Sunrise by Warwick Fuller and Track Through the Heath by Warwick Fuller. He is an Aussie artist who had an exhibition up in New South Wales, which my parents visited for me when they were up there to visit my sister. And they got me a book that is just full of his artwork. So I love doing master studies from his paintings. This is not my strongest piece. This is just a really loose gouache sketch of a scene that is quite close to my home. I think I might try this one again. I can see it's reminiscent of some of the paintings that you see later in this sketchbook, but it just wasn't executed very well. I was still wrapping my head around gouache. I did a drawing of Harry Styles and a really abstract painting of a tree. I'm not sure what was going on there. I think I was just throwing paint at the page. This is Jessica Alba, who was requested by a colleague of mine and a close friend. And one of my sisters requested Carrie Fisher. She's a big fan of Star Wars and I am too. So I went on a bit of a Star Wars binge after drawing Carrie. So we've got Luke and Han, Anakin and Obi-Wan. Wasn't super happy with Obi-Wan in this one, so I actually did him again here. And also Moff Tarkin, who I had no idea who that was, but my partner requested me draw him. So it was actually interesting because he's so aged and he's got such a receded hairline. I learned a lot about facial anatomy from drawing him because his face is so skull-like, but I also got to understand some of the muscles that were laying over the skull. So I learned quite a bit when I drew this one. This is my first real attempt at drawing with oil pastels. I used a reference on Pinterest just for the colours, but I did my own composition. And I think it came out pretty well. Of all of my oil pastel drawings, this is probably my favourite. Probably because I wasn't expecting myself to succeed. I just kind of went for it. This is a master study of Holiday Sketch at Coogee Beach by Tom Roberts, who was an Australian Impressionist. And I took the colour palette and what I learnt from this one and then created my own painting just from a random image on Google, and it came out okay. My partner really likes this one, but I think some of my later paintings are stronger than this. I tried painting this in oil pastels a little later on and failed completely. We have Padme Amidala, aka Natalie Portman, who is one of my favourite people to draw, and Michael Fassbender from The Killer, who is also one of my favourite people to draw. This is my sad little attempt at an oil pastel master study of that same painting from before. Not my best effort, but still not horrible. Really interesting colours. This is potentially my favourite painting in the entire sketchbook. This is a painting of Neil Heidelberg by Arthur Streeton, who was an Australian Impressionist and probably my favourite artist of all time. I learnt a lot from this painting and I think I can now see his influence starting to come through in some of my other pieces. But I just adore this painting, the colours and the contrast, and I was really excited to have a go at this and really happy with the outcome. Here we have Johnny Depp and Mads Mikkelsen from Hannibal. I was really happy with the rendering on this one here. Natalie Portman as Padme Amidala again, and Daniel Craig, who I think my partner requested. These are a couple of tree sketches from some pictures of eucalyptus that I found on Google, where I was trying to kind of bring in a little bit of what I learnt from that master study of Arthur Streeton. I like the colours, but I think at the time I was really proud of these, but I think I have improved since then. This is a drawing of the character Carl, I think it's pronounced Weishman, from Bodies, which is a show that I watched on Netflix while my partner was away that I loved. It was really good. I attempted to draw a pot here. It did not go well, so I painted over it because I hated it. This is a drawing of a Banksia plant, which is a native flower to Australia. And I actually ended up doing a gouache painting of this. I will insert a picture of that here. This is quite a sad story. It's not a very good picture of a tree at all. It was going okay, and then when I pulled the tape off, it actually ripped off a good portion of the painting here. So I ended up just throwing some paint down and I ripped the whole page out. And then thought to myself, I didn't want to, be that person. I wanted to, accept my failures. So I taped it back in and I did another sketch of it here, but I still haven't actually revisited this one. It's not a great painting. And here I've got drawings of Norma and Norman Bates from Bates Motel, favourite show of all time. I was really happy with how both of these came out. I love these drawings and these characters. These were requests from my partner's friends. This is a drag queen whose name I actually have forgotten. So I'll pop that up on the screen. And Joaquin Phoenix, who was a challenge to draw, but I am very happy with how that one came out. Here we have Chris Pratt and Zoe Saldana as Gomorrah. This one was a request from my sister. I've actually got this drawing in of my first ever vlog that I posted on this channel. Here we have another master study of a painting or a portion of a painting by Warwick Fuller. I love, 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 love how this one came out. I think I might revisit this style. I love these colours. And then this is just an attempt at painting a eucalyptus tree. I think this is actually the same tree from earlier, in that failed one that I ended up ripping out and taping back in. So this was my second attempt at that, and it came out much better, I believe, in my opinion. We were also watching Westworld, so I've got two of the characters from Westworld. Her name escapes me, and so does hers. I went on a little Bridgerton binge as well, so we've got Kate Sharma, who I didn't really like the likeness of, it got a bit overworked. And then I've got Anthony Bridgerton, Daphne Bridgerton, and Colin Bridgerton. Again, quite happy with how this one and these two came out. I think I was really starting to come into my style here with my portraits. This is a gouache landscape painting that I'm actually quite proud of. This I did a video on my channel, and I think this was where I started to loosen up with some of my painting, and it came out really atmospheric, and I love, these shadows and colours in the hills, and I've been trying to bring a bit more of this into my paintings now. So we went away to New South Wales to see my sister. I drew a picture of my boyfriend while he was reading a book, and I also painted this tree, which was out the front of my sister's balcony. She lives up in the mountains, so there was a lot of really beautiful reference up there. This is an unfinished painting of Gandalf, which I really probably should go back and finish, but I'm kind of happy with how expressive it is. I haven't done any other portrait painting in gouache. I feel like I should probably give it a go. This is a plein air painting that I then brought back in my studio to fix because I mucked it up, because it was my first real attempt, one of my first attempts at plein air painting. And I went up to the lookout while my partner went hiking with my sister and her partner, and I painted this scene while they were out there. And there is a video of this one on my channel as well. Looking back on it, I can see how overworked it is. I can see now how I could improve on it, but it's actually not too bad, and I think it's good in terms of a sketch. Here I was just practicing some greens, mixing greens. So I had yellow ochre and ultramarine blue, and then lemon yellow and ultramarine blue, then burnt sienna, ultramarine and yellow ochre, lemon, ultramarine and burnt sienna, and so on, and just experimented with some different greens. And then I just did this really random sketch from imagination to practice some of these greens. I was quite happy with how this one came out. This is a master study of a painting by John Wilson, who is another Australian artist, I believe. And then I used these colours and painted my own scene from a photograph that I took on my way up to New South Wales. And I've actually painted another picture of this hill, this one here. So this is the other side of the hill. You can see this kind of crest here. It's the same one. And this is actually one of the ones that the other artist in my artist swap chose. So I'll be giving this to her soon. These are just a couple more celebrity portrait drawings that I did. And these are two master studies from an artist named Julie Davis, who I believe she's American. I think she's from Austin, Texas, but I could be wrong. So both of these are paintings of hers that I really admired and wanted to learn from. So I did studies of them. This is an Edgar Payne master study. And then this was just a really quick sketch where I was kind of trying to use some of what I learned in this painting and apply it to my own photo reference that I had. I think the composition isn't very strong, and there's a bit of busyness going on here, but overall it's not too bad. This one by Edgar Payne I remember not being super happy with, but the more I go back to it, the more I actually really enjoy the colours. These are just a couple of thumbnail sketches that I was using to plan out the paintings for the art swap that I did with the other local artists from my area. These two are me trying to branch out with different colours. This is a scene that I painted again later on in a video for my partner. It's from the Grampians, which is a place that we really love to go camping together. This was a reference photo that my partner chose for me to paint. It was of a rock kind of being hit by the sun and this little creek that was kind of starting off underneath, and it looks quite abstract. I think I had the right idea with the colours, but this area here lets it down. I feel like my values here are off, which means that this part looks out of context and you don't really know what it is, but it's not awful. It was good fun. I enjoyed it. This was a really quick sketch from a book that I have by Nathan Fowlkes. So that was a really brief master study. I learnt a lot about painting sky and mountains in the distance in this one. And then I did this little sketch from the Blue Mountains, which was probably too saturated in the end. I really need to put some more greys into this area out here. But I wasn't unhappy with how it came out. I actually started painting it again, a larger version. This one isn't finished, but I feel like it had a bit more promise in terms of, you know, the composition and the colours. Here we have two versions of the same reference photo where I was trying to explore different colour approaches to each. I have a YouTube video of this one. Again, looking back, I think it's a little bit quote unquote cartoony, maybe a bit not quite as realistic as I would like, at least this one. I really like the colours in this one. But I still learnt, again, the whole point of a sketchbook is learning and getting creative and letting loose, so I think I achieved that here. This is another plein air painting that I have a video of on my channel. This is from a park that I used to go to a lot as a child. I really like how I executed the tree in this one. It's probably, the whole thing is brighter and more saturated than I would usually go for, but it's definitely not a bad painting. I learned from it. Maybe this might be my favourite painting in the entire sketchbook. This is a master study of a painting by Edgar Payne, and I did this in the same video that I painted this one in. And I don't know, I think I started to really find my technique with this painting of painting really, really loose and thin for my first couple of layers and then layering over that. And I was so happy with how this one came out. I love this painting. This one is a bit different for me. So my partner went to the hardware store and parked me in front of this little coffee shop. It's like a drive-through coffee shop. And I did a sketch. I didn't have my paints with me at the time, but I drew the whole thing out, and then when I got home I painted it, and it reminds me a little bit of some of James Gurney's work, which excites me because he is amazing. So I think this actually came out quite well. I really, really like this particular painting. Okay, so this is another plein air painting, which I felt was really busy and messy at the time, but looking back, it's a pretty accurate representation of how things looked on that day. I tried to paint it again and simplify it a little bit, and I don't know which one I prefer. I think I prefer the space, the feeling of space in the top here in this one, but I prefer the foreground in this one. So I could probably, if I ever wanted to do a large painting of these, I could just combine the two. This is a bit of a fail, this painting. I do have this one in a video. I really liked how it looked before I rendered the sky. So this area was looking fairly realistic, but as soon as I put all these kind of highlights in the clouds in the sky, the whole thing just looked overexposed, too dramatic, and just not really my style. But I did enjoy, painting these colours in the hills here. This was a really quick painting I did while we were watching Sherlock, and I was quite happy with how this one came out. It's of a couple of trees from that same park that I used to go to as a child, and I feel like here was where I really started to wrap my head around how to paint the trunk of a eucalyptus tree. I go back to this one as a reference when I'm painting trees. This was just a little bit more planning for the art swap that I did. And these were some really, really quick studies. So these two were master studies, or these three were master studies. I think that's an Edgar Payne. I'm pretty sure these are both, that's a Tom Roberts and that's an Arthur Streeton, and this was just from my head. And they were a really good way to kind of experiment with colour. This is another version of that tree that was out the front of my sister's house. And this is a tree that I snapped a photo of on the way home from the nursery one day because I really liked how it looked. I really love how I did the grass in the foreground here. It feels very Studio Ghibli. I was also trying something new. I think this painting was painted over like a bright yellow wash, and this was painted over like a turquoisey blue wash. This is another really rough painting of a spot that my partner and I drove to one day one evening actually when we were a bit bored and we just wanted to kind of sit in our car and stare out at the ocean. And this was a second attempt at a plein air painting. So I did a plein air painting, brought it back and did this little studio painting. And then I attempted an oil painting, which is in one of my recent videos, and it didn't go well. I still need to go back to that painting and finish it. But yes, I really like this one. I think this is my favourite of all of the paintings from that session. These are some more really rough thumbnails for my art swap. This is me venturing away a bit from the landscapes. Another little sketch here, but my sister got me some Ohuhu markers for Christmas and I wanted to give them a go, so I did a little drawing of a skull. I was kind of trying to emulate Emily Hughes, who has a YouTube channel, and she's really inspiring. I love her work. This is a little bit of a fail. This was unfinished because I just kind of got tired of it. It wasn't going well. It's not the worst, like I can see some strengths here, but it was just meh. Just wasn't super happy with it really. This is me preparing for a commission that I am just waiting for the canvases to arrive in the post, and then I'll get started on it. So this is my initial sketch, and then this is the kind of colour comp that I did. And once my canvases arrive, I'm going to paint this in acrylic and oil. So watch this space, we'll see how that goes. This is a really brief sketch of the same tree I painted in one of my oil paintings. This was in one of my really recent videos and I just wanted to try some different colours, so I painted that in my sketchbook. This is a really quick sketch of a tree that was in the parking lot when my partner was getting the groceries. And this was a really quick, rough painting of some sunset clouds with just some leftover gouache that was on my palette. This is another quick little tree painting, which reminds me a lot of Arthur Streeton and Tom Roberts. It's very purple. It's a bit more purple than I would usually go for, but I feel like I conveyed things fairly well. Here I was trying a new technique with painting trees, and you'll see that I kind of brought this into the rest of the tree paintings. There's a lot of tree paintings from here on. This was a tree that I drew from just a quick driving trip that my partner and I did. Now, this next page looks nothing like anything else. In my sketchbook, I was processing some really intense emotions and just needed to scribble. So that's what I did. And it did help. It helped me get past the sad feels I was having. So we'll just turn the page. This is a really loose gouache painting, which I loved doing so much. I'm really enjoying this loose feel. I want to bring this into my oil painting and start out this loose and then refine it a little bit and make it a bit more realistic. So that's how I'm planning to approach my oil paintings. I'm hoping to do my first layer in acrylic and then go over that with oils and refine the scene. Another really loose gouache painting, which you'll have seen in one of my recent videos. I really like how I rendered the trunk and the shadowing in the trunk in here and the shadow on the ground as well. This is a master study of a painting by James Gurney, who I've always admired. I actually did an oil master study of this years and years ago. I don't know if I still have it, but I wanted to try it again, so I did a really loose gouache sketch. This is a very rough colour study of an Arthur Streeton painting. I think I did intend to take this further, but kind of just lost interest, so left it as it was. This is a painting of Germany that I did. I asked my partner, you know, give me a country to draw, give me something different, and he said Germany. So I found this photo on Google and I painted this. I painted this while watching probably the weirdest movie that I've ever seen in my life. I think it was called The Killing of a Sacred Deer. And I can't look at this without feeling really uncomfortable. And it's the same with this one because I painted both of these while watching that. And I decided to do two versions of the same painting to try some different, you know, mountain techniques. So they're not bad, but I just feel strange looking at them. This is a really, really loose tree painting. Again, it's quite abstract. I don't want to really lean towards abstract with my studio work, but it's a really fun way to kind of just get composition ideas and color ideas out, and also just get rid of some energy. So this was, I think, this was from imagination, and I'm pretty sure this was in the video I would have uploaded last week, I think. And then the last page, something a bit different. This is an oil pastel study of a painting by Sue Charles from the Essential Landscape Painting Workbook. I might have that now title a bit mucked around. And I'm not familiar with oil pastels, but I had a lot of fun with this. It's a bit more, I don't know, I feel like it hits a little different. Like in some ways it looks, I can see like I'm really happy with these shadows and the colors, but it also feels a little bit elementary, I guess. But you know, like I said, a sketchbook's a sketchbook. So this is the last painting in this sketchbook, and then I've just got some swatches of oil pastels and some charcoal pencils. So that is my sketchbook. Thank you for joining me as we went on this little journey of all of the things that I have drawn and painted over the last 3 months. Let me know what your favourite page was, if there's anything in here that you might want to see me do in like a studio painting, anything in here that you want to see me do more of, or maybe do some instructional videos on, maybe, who knows. But it is time to move on to the big brother. Let's see how I go with this one, shall we? Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.